Hi everyone, long time no see. I have really missed you. There's been a lot going on behind the scenes for me in the last couple of months, a lot going on health-wise and just with life. So I thought we would just do a catch-up video today, get ready together. I'll tell you about some of the things I've been using and enjoying behind the scenes and give you a little bit of a life update. I am going to be talking about some like health, reproductive health, fertility related things. So just wanted to let you know in case that is a sensitive topic for you. Okay, it is fully summer and I know I've been MIA the last couple of months. I've been sharing shorts and things like that, but in terms of my long form, I just haven't had the capacity. If you follow me on any of my other platforms, or if you maybe saw my YouTube short, I basically shared about my infertility journey over the last 21 months or so, almost 2 years. It's been a long time and it's been something that I've been dealing with sort of in quiet and in private behind the scenes. And to be honest, it's taken over so much of my life that I got sick of not being able to talk about it and not being able to be honest about it. And I feel relieved since talking about it and talking about, going through IVF and everything, that I've been able to connect with so many of you. I've received so many DMs and comments, like more than I can even keep up with, from people who are either going through the same thing or supporting people going through the same thing or have experienced it in the past. If that's you, if you've dealt with any sort of fertility struggles or fertility treatments, IUI, IVF, I am sending all my love to you because you really don't know what it's like until it happens to you and until you're going through it. And it's a very surreal experience. And I'm honestly still very much in it. And to be honest, I wasn't planning on talking about any of this until I had good news, but I think it's still such a taboo subject to talk about fertility in like an open way and not just through the lens of like, oh, it worked, or like after pregnancy. And I know there are so many people going through this. And what I've realized is that even if you are not experiencing infertility in the medical terminology way, which is like a certain amount of time, even the experience of trying to conceive is not always a linear one, and it's not always an easy one. It's an emotional roller coaster. I sort of feel like actually being able to talk about it openly has made me stronger and has made me feel more empowered in my own journey, even as I'm still like in the process and going through it with all of the ups and downs. I just use the Lawless brow wax, by the way. To be honest, the last couple of months, I've basically not worn any makeup. It's only in the last few weeks that I've been feeling well enough that I'm like, okay, maybe I can put on a little bit of makeup. And I think there was a month there in like April, May, where I just could barely get out of bed. I have been going through IVF. I've been going through all of the different stages of that. And I ended up having 2 surgeries, 1 trip to the ER. One of the surgery was not planned, and the ER definitely wasn't planned. Just gonna go in with the Merit foundation stick. I basically only want low effort makeup if I'm gonna wear makeup these days. They came out with a new shade Oak maybe like 6 months ago, and it's actually a really perfect match for me. So I'm just drawing that on. But yeah, it's been a process of a lot of grief, a lot of heartache, a lot of feelings of hopelessness. And again, I don't want to speak on behalf of anyone else. This is just what my experience has been like, because I've otherwise been in really good health for most of my life, and I've been very privileged and fortunate to say that. And I'm so much more aware of that now, having experienced this. And a big part of my journey has been my PCOS diagnosis. That's been kind of the thing that preceded all of the fertility treatments, because I didn't really know what was going on with my body, but I felt like something was wrong. I had a lot of symptoms that were dismissed by a previous doctor. I ended up having to switch doctors. And that's when I was diagnosed with PCOS, which I had a suspicion was happening, but it was sort of being masked when I was on birth control, and then it was dismissed by another doctor, completely dismissed in a way that was really, honestly, very condescending, very patronizing, and made me feel like I was having female hysteria. This was coming from a woman doctor. So switching doctors, getting that diagnosis, and then kind of starting on fertility treatments has taken up so much time, so much energy, and we've done basically all of the steps. We've done medicated cycles, which is when people take medication to stimulate ovulation. We've done IUI, we're doing IVF. There's just like a lot happening. And within each step, there's a million doctors' appointments. You're getting your blood drawn all the time. You're on different medications, whether that's orally or the shots. Everyone knows the shots with IVF. And so, yeah, my body has been through a lot. I've been through a lot. And I am just trying to hold on in terms of my mental health and in terms of just caring for my physical and emotional being. Also, at every stage in this process, I have sort of felt like what can go wrong has gone wrong for me. While doing all of this, they do a lot of tests to see if your reproductive function is normal. This is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt, by the way. But yeah, I realized at one point that I had a blocked fallopian tube. And then at another point, I had a uterine polyp, so I had to have surgery to have that removed. And it's almost like at every point where there's a potential roadblock, I feel like there's been a roadblock, and there's just been a lot of anguish and pain and grief and frustration. It's been like a full-time job for me to just like keep my head above water. Let's do a little blush. This is Rhode Piggy, my favorite. I actually got to work on the funny thing is, while this has been happening, I'm still doing my work. I'm still doing partnerships with brands. I create content behind the scenes sometimes. And I got to work on the launch of the new Rhode Glazing Mist. So it was weird because I'm like going through the hardest time of my life and also getting one of the coolest opportunities of my life. The video is on their Instagram and their TikTok. So that was really awesome. And the glazing mist is really beautiful. It's like a full skincare routine in mist form. It gives you the glowiest skin ever. But yeah, while I'm going through the hardest time, I'm also trying to keep my head above water and just to do my best to keep up with my partnerships and with other work tasks. And that's why I feel like kind of relieved that I can just talk about this a little bit more openly with you, because this is what's happening in my life most days. I'm still going to the doctor all the time. I'm still trying to figure out my health, and honestly, I am crying most days. There's just been a lot of grief, and I know that not everyone's journey is filled with grief with IVF, but I think there is a side of it that's really difficult to talk about. It's hard to talk about because it's so raw and it's very painful and it's very vulnerable. And it's really hard to talk about while you're going through it. To be honest, I didn't even want to talk to a lot of my friends and family about it, just because for a long time, I kind of was just feeling very protective of my journey. And I didn't want people to look at me or perceive me or ask me what's going on, because it was always bad news. And it's still like kind of always bad news, but I feel just a little bit more equipped to talk about it now. Here's one thing that is bringing me joy. A little piece of joy is the Edam Le Chouchou Lip Balm in Guava Fresca. This smells just like real guava. It has that like tartness and that punch of fruitiness, and it genuinely smells just like real guava. I can't deal with it. It's so good, and I love the bright pink quality. The tone is so pretty. It's perfect for summer. I love this formula already, and I'm so glad they brought out another shade. See, it's just so pretty. Let's just do a neutral eye. This is the Linda Hallberg Boring Nude Palette. That's what it's called. But yeah, now that I'm like sharing a little bit more about it, talking more openly about it, I feel more equipped to be open, and I'm finding it to be a relief. And yeah, just the outpouring of love and support and messages and kind words and encouragement has been so nice. I have been documenting each step of the journey. I don't think I'm quite ready to share all of that yet, but maybe someday, hopefully I will. I'm trying not to get too emotional while filming this, because I've actually tried to film this video like 5 times and I just end up crying every time. Yeah, I think this is a much more common experience for people than we generally talk about. And there is very much a taboo around it. It's just uncomfortable for people to talk about, people who are in it and also people who are receiving it. And yet, it's such a common experience, not necessarily IVF, but the experience of infertility or just struggling to understand your own reproductive health and not feeling like you have answers. I've gotten so many DMs from people who think they have PCOS and have not been able to get a diagnosis. And honestly, I'm 34. I got diagnosed last October at 33. I think that is a very common experience, especially if you've lean PCOS or don't have some of the common presenting symptoms of PCOS, such as possibly weight gain, facial hair, these kind of like typical markers of PCOS, even though there are actually so many different ways that PCOS can present. I had to do my mascara off camera because now I'm committed to not crying. This is the Heroin Make mascara, the long up version. And I did get the remover with it this time. It is great, I have to say. It's so long lasting, gives you a really fluttery lash. And then I just did my brows with the Make Beauty brow pencil. I also just filmed a review of the new Farah Homidi bronzer. I know people are really excited about the palest shade. They sent me Lumen, which is like their light medium with their brush, and it is really nice. I do have to say I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, there's so much I want to say. If you have any questions for me in this journey, feel free to ask me in the comments. Maybe I'll do like a sort of answering questions kind of video, because the whole health journey has been so long, so complex. It's been a journey of getting off birth control, of getting my PCOS diagnosis, going through fertility treatments and all of the different kinds of fertility treatments. And there's just been a lot, many components of this. The fallopian tube, uterine polyp. It's just like almost too much to account in one video, not to mention the emotional and psychological side of all of this. To be honest, in addition to the physical part of it, I think I've just been really dealing with some deep depression over the last few months. Well, over the last year, but like it really hit hard the last few months, partly because I was like in bed for a month because I had a reaction to my egg retrieval called ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. And a lot of people with PCOS can do this, where your ovaries respond so well to the stimulation shots that you end up in the hospital, which is what happened to me. I ended up getting fluid pushed up from my ovaries up my torso, like around my lungs, and I couldn't breathe. I was struggling to breathe, and that's why I ended up in the ER. That was at the end of April. So that's kind of the sort of like really condensed version of where I've been the last couple of months, and just my lack of capacity to show up on camera. I was barely doing any makeup, barely doing any skincare, just like trying to get through the last few months. I am feeling better this week, which is why I was able to show up on camera. And I'm going to show up as much as I can in the best way that I can, while also being honest with you and as authentic as possible in this whole journey, because it is a really long, extended chapter of my life. I also know that because of YouTube demographics, most of my audience here is between 25 to 45. And what that means is that there are so many of us facing this question about, are we going to have kids? Maybe you don't want to have kids. What does partnership look like? What does family look like for you? I feel like all of my friends and everyone in my social circle is kind of facing this question, regardless of their partnership status or their family status. It's kind of this like big existential question that sits over this chapter of life. And regardless of like where you're at, I have friends who have decided not to have children. I have friends that are freezing their eggs. I have friends that have done IVF, or friends that have multiple kids. So I think it's just something that lives in all of our minds at different points in time in this life phase. So even if you're not in this particular journey with me, like the infertility IVF journey, I know that there are so many of us that relate to the struggles of this question. And I feel like what we see on social media is like birth announcements and baby showers and pregnancy announcements, and it's all of the like happy curated stuff, but behind the scenes there's a lot of grief and anguish and pain and uncertainty, a lot of questions, a lot of health related questions. I feel like it's important to talk about because this stuff I do feel like is changing me as a person. It's changing how I see the world. Like I said, most of my life I've been in good health and I've had the privilege of that. PCOS is a chronic health condition. So now I know I have that. And I understand how unfair a health condition can feel, whether that's like a chronic thing, a disease, infertility, whatever. Like it just feels so unfair, and it feels like, why me? I am just sending all of my love to you. If you are someone in this position, I feel like I see the world in a different way now. I just do. I think the thing about being on YouTube and being on social media for many years and for a job over time is that you guys are kind of going through different life phases with me. You were with me when I got engaged, you were with me when I got married, when we moved to this house. Like there are just so many life moments that you mark together, and this is the first time I've really gone through something very difficult like this while doing social media for a job. So I just wanted to say thank you for being here. And if this isn't your jam, if you're not interested in the personal life stuff, that's okay. My channel is not going to become like a parenting, fertility, pregnancy channel. Like we're still gonna do what we do here. But I did just want to fill you in on what's going on because I have gotten comments being like, we miss you, where are you? And I've gotten DMs, and I just want you to know that I'm here, and I'm also here for you. I do have so many videos I want to film. I have a summer essentials. I also am doing my mid-year beauty favorites this year. I think I didn't get to them last summer because I was, again, going through health stuff last summer, but I'm feeling excited to return to that. And then, yeah, I have a lot of new like fashion favorites, fragrance favorites, things I've been loving lately, new releases, lots of new summer launches. So I'm gonna try to get to that to the best of my ability. So I do really appreciate your guys' patience and understanding, and I am excited to share all that stuff with you. So again, let me know if you have any questions, if there's something you want me to elaborate on or talk about more, and I'm sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next one.